Hi, I'm Sarah Bargigian and welcome to your yoga class with me today. We're going to be looking today at UPAVISTHA KONASANA, which is angle seated pose, where your legs are wide and you're seated. It's a really difficult pose, and my niece Emily Barr in Sydney, Australia, asked me a few days ago if I could have a look at this and perhaps even teach a class on it. And she's not the first and she's not the last person to ask me about this pose. So what I want you to do is to make sure that you have a blanket, a strap, and a block to help you during this 20-minute class as we go through the nuances of this pose. And I hope that you'll find it more accessible and more familiar, so that when you do this very common pose in other classes, you feel like you know a little bit more about it and how to take care of yourself when you're in it. So come now to sit on a blanket like I am. Make sure that it's folded with the fold forward and you're seated right on the front of it. By lifting up your pelvis here, it helps you from the get-go to tilt these two sitting bones a little bit more forwards, so that you feel like your sitting bones, you're not sitting on the back of them, you're rolling over a little bit ahead of them. Squeeze your legs strong and make sure that your kneecaps and your toes are pointing up. Now, to make this a little easier, you can bring your feet much closer towards each other. Bring your hands onto the floor behind you and raise your chest. And push the top of your lower back forwards so that you're not rounding your back, so that you're sitting more on top of your sitting bones and your two hip points are coming forwards a little bit. Stay here for a couple of breaths. And hopefully as we go through our sequence and return to this every so often, you're going to find this easier and more accessible each time. Now bring your hands underneath your knees, slide your heels up towards you and come up to standing. So bring your hands to the floor, then bring your hands to your hips with bent knees, come all the way up. Good, now if you've got your blanket still on your mat, take it away and come to the top of your mat with your feet hip width apart. Bring your hands down by your sides. Turn your palms out to the side walls, and as you inhale, bring your arms up overhead. Exhale, bend your knees and touch the floor for Uttanasana, standing forward fold. Now keep your knees bent, and as you push your heels down, raise your chest and perhaps straighten your legs a little bit more here, lengthening the hamstrings, which really helps with this seated forward fold. Then from here, walk your hands back by your feet and step back into downward facing dog and bring your feet together. Push your hands forward and raise your right leg up behind you, parallel to the floor. Push both your heels away from you. Now come forward into plank and bring your right knee towards your upper right arm. It's like you're kind of chicken winging it out to the side. This is going to tone the glutes, which really help with UPAVISTHA KONASANA. Then bring your leg back into three-legged dog. And one more time, move your chest forward and wing your right leg out to the side. Try and keep the foot high. Go back into three-legged dog. Then step your right foot forward in between your hands. Come onto your right fingertips to help you. Bring your back knee down. Press your front foot towards your back knee and bring your arms all the way up. Just bringing a little bit of pliancy into the hips in general here. Keep pushing your front foot back and your back knee forward. Then bring your hands down, pick up your back knee and step back again to downward facing dog. And again, bring your feet together. Raise your left leg up and back, three-legged dog. Push both heels long, push your hands forward. And again, chicken wing that left leg out towards the left, possibly making contact with your upper arm. Back to three-legged dog. And then again, the chicken wing thing. Draw your navel up, keep your abs engaged. Come back to three-legged dog. Then step your left foot forward between your hands. Bring your back knee down. Bring your arms forward and come up to Anjaneyasana. Press your left buttock in here and see if you can move your hips a little bit more forwards. Now look down and touch down. Pick up your back knee. Step back to downward facing dog. Bring your feet together again. And then again, raise your right leg up and back. Now bring your right knee, again, chicken winging it out to the side, but not so far forward this time. Move your chest forward. Then bring your left knee down and bring your inner right knee down and your inner right foot down. Now, I don't want this right knee, I'm going to change sides so that you can see, to be up by the hand too much. So that when you now come down a little bit more onto your elbows possibly, this knee is straight out to the side. You're not bringing it up here, you're bringing it out to the side. Now you can stay on your hands, you don't have to come onto your elbows. A couple more breaths here. Push down like a frog with the inner right foot. Then, if you're not already on your hands, come onto your hands now. Tuck your back toes under and step back to downward facing dog. Bring your 2 feet together. Now raise your left leg up and back. And again, move your body weight forward. Bring your left leg forward and then slowly bring the inner knee down to the floor. Bring your back knee down to the floor. Stay like this or come down onto your elbows and slide your left knee maybe a little bit more away from you and have a quick look at that leg and make sure that you feel like your thigh bone is going straight out to the side rather than further up towards your right hand. You've got lots of right angles going on here in your hip, in your knee, even in your ankle as you push down through the base of your big toe. Maybe come down a little bit more with your chest. Push down with that left knee. Then come up to your hands if you're not already. Tuck your back toes under, pick up your back knee. Pick up the entire left leg and step back to downward facing dog. Good. Now put a little bend in your knees and look forward. Step your right foot, then your left foot, or walk forward to the top of the mat. Separate your feet. Inhale, raise your chest, look up. And as you exhale, fold to Uttanasana. Now heel toe your feet together. Bend your knees, bring your hands onto your hips and come up to standing. Then get your blanket and make a little sausage here. Roll it up and then bring it down to the floor. You've made a little lift here, a little elevation for your feet. Step your toes and the base of your toes onto your blanket and make sure that your feet are hip width apart. If this doesn't feel stable, then make sure you've rolled up your blanket really well. Bring your arms out to the side. Bend your knees and fold forward back into Uttanasana. Push your fingers down. Then possibly straighten your legs a little bit more here. You're probably going to feel this more in the calf muscles as your toes are elevated. Feel free to bend your knees if you need to, it's fine. Now firm your abdominal muscles, possibly fold forward a touch more. 3, 2, 1. Now bend your knee, sweep your arms out to the side, come up to standing again. Do it slowly. Then bring your hands onto your hips and step off your mat, off your blanket. Then turn towards the screen. Bring your hands onto your hips. Turn your right leg out to the side. Pick your leg up. Now bring the heel higher. Slide your hand down your leg. And then from here, place your foot into your left inner thigh. So tree pose. Now keep your hand here for a moment and squeeze that right buttock in to bring that right knee back a little bit more. Try and keep this hip point pointing forwards rather than turning out to the right. Then bring your arms out to the side. If your foot slides away here, then keep your hand on your leg. The leg is really important here. We want to try and keep this shape. Good. Now turn your palms up if you have got your arms out to the side and bring your arms up overhead. Squeeze your legs really strongly here. Now bring your hands back to your hips, disconnect the right foot, turn the knee forward and place it down. So we'll do this on the other side. Turn the left leg out, pick up the heel, slide your hand down the leg, grab the front of the shin and place your foot high, high, high above the knee or below the knee but not on the knee. Squeeze your left buttock in and see if you can bring the knee back a little bit more like you do when you're seated in UPAVISTHA KONASANA. Squeeze your right leg strong, keep your hand here or bring your arms out. Turn your palms up. and bring your arms up overhead. And again, if you're really wobbly here, keep your hands down. You can even put your hand against the wall. Breathe steadily and smoothly. If your hands are up, bring them down onto your hips. Take your foot away, turn the knee forward, and place your foot down. Now, get your block and put it on the top right-hand corner of your mat on its highest height. And step wide. Now, parallel your feet and bring your arms out to the side. Look at your wrists and look at your ankles. You're using your wrists here as a guide to bring your legs really wide, because I want your wrists to be right over your ankles here, so you're stepping really wide. Then look at your right foot and pivot on that right heel so that your toes point straight ahead. Then from here, bend your right knee and press your right buttock in so that the knee points straight ahead, and you're lengthening the inner thigh as you shorten the outer thigh. Really press in that right buttock. Stay here for a couple more breaths. Make sure that you can just about see your right big toe. Then bring your left hand onto your left inner thigh. A couple of pulls up of this thigh so you really get that feeling of lifting up the inner thigh towards the ceiling. Push down with the outside edge of that back heel and bring your arm back up again. 3, 2, even press your tailbone forwards. 1, keep your arms as they are. Straighten your right leg, turn the toes in, turn the left toes out. Look at your left knee and slowly bend that knee, lengthening the inner thigh all along by pressing in that left buttock. Maybe bend a little bit more. And then again, bring your right hand to the inner thigh, pull up, sort of engaging the muscle memory here of lifting up and anchor down through that back heel. Possibly bend a little bit more. If your knee goes forward, then you can lengthen your stance and bring that right foot back even more. If your knee goes forward over your ankle. Good, now bring your hands onto your hips. Straighten your left leg, turn your left toes in, turn your right toes out. Bring your arms back up again. Again, warrior 2, and we're going to change this. Bend the right knee. Side angle pose. Put your right hand on the block, which is outside your heel. Turn your back palm up, your left palm up, and rainbow it over your head. Push your back foot down, and again, turn that back inner thigh up towards the ceiling as you rotate your chest up a little more towards the ceiling, and lift from your lower belly up towards your left hip. 3, push your back foot down. 2, just have a quick check that that right knee isn't moving over to the left. 1, bring the block with you. Reach that left hand vertically, come up to warrior 2 again. Straighten your right leg, put your block into your left hand, turn your right toes forward, turn your left foot out, and just put your block down here and come back up again. Make sure the block is on the outside of the shin. Bring your arms up. Slowly bend your left knee. So you're back to warrior 2. Check that the inner thigh is as long as the outer thigh. You're not letting this knee drop in. Side angle pose, Abductor Konasana. Put your left hand on your block. Turn your right palm up. Rainbow it over. Turn your chest up towards the ceiling so the left ribs go under. Lift up your lower belly and straighten your back leg as much as you can. Now have a quick look at your left knee. I always have to keep checking this. Press the left buttock in. Keep that. Make sure the knee is pointing straight ahead. And then possibly look underneath your right arm. Now reach that right arm up to vertical. Bring the block with you. Back to warrior 2. Straighten your left leg. Turn your toes in. And then heel toe your feet together. Good. Okay, now put your block down. And get your blanket. We're going to have another go at UPAVISTHA Konasana. Put your blanket down. And if you've got other blankets, 2 more or 2 towels, put them beside you and sit onto your blanket. First of all, we're going to have the soles of the feet together for Baddha Konasana. Leave those for a moment. Bring your hands onto the floor behind you. and press your feet together as you squeeze your bottom. Now, the more you squeeze the bottom, the more your knees will go down and the more you'll lengthen the adductor muscles, the inner thigh muscles, which is what we want. Raise your chest and push your lower back forward so that you're not rounding your lower back, you're keeping that natural slight curve. A couple more breaths. See if you can maybe bring the knees down a touch more. 3, 2, 1. Then from here, bring your knees up. Widen your legs. Keep the knees bent. Now, if you don't have blankets, it doesn't matter. You don't have to do this. But if you do, roll up your blankets and put them underneath your knees. Try and keep them at the same height. So if you've got one blanket that's thicker than the other, maybe don't roll that as much. Good. Now press down the backs of your knees into your blankets. Look at your feet and turn your toes towards your face. Push the heels down, push the knees down. Then with your hands, move your bottom back a little bit here. So you can really feel the connection of your sitting bones on the floor and you draw your hamstrings back. Bring your hands onto the floor behind you. Now push the lower back forward. Possibly come forward a little bit more with the lower spine. So rather than rounding like this, you're tilting forward. So the front body is as long as the back body. A couple more breaths here. Firm your abdominal muscles, so keep pressing the lower ribs in. Then from here, come all the way up. Take the blankets away if you've got them underneath your knees. And press your legs down. Now, if you're up quite high, I recommend you keep the blankets underneath your knees. But if you're just sitting on a blanket that's maybe a centimetre up above the floor, then press your legs down. We have a tendency to turn the toes in this pose, so try and keep the toes and the kneecaps pointing up. Again, hands on the floor behind you and tilt down a little bit more here. Now you can stay with this, or possibly with your fingers, if you can reach, get your middle finger and index fingers and put them around your big toes. And then raise your chest again. Now ab strength is really important here, so keep pressing the lower ribs in. Stay with this, or possibly bend your elbows and lift your elbows up to the ceiling as you maybe come down a bit more. Now, this is an option you do not have to take, but possibly do this. And if your head is nearly on the floor but not quite, you can use your block as a forehead rest. Then possibly move the block forwards a little bit more so that you stretch your spine a little bit more forwards and come down. If you don't need the block, then don't use the block. Put your head on the floor. Your choice. Make a wise decision here. Remember, you don't want to injure yourself. It's very common here for hamstrings to get a little torn, especially at the top by the sitting bones. So be gentle. Keep squeezing your legs strong. Squeeze your thighs. 3, 2, 1. Now if you are down, come up halfway and be strong. Then come up all the way. Release your feet if you have them. Bring your hands underneath your knees. Come all the way up. Now cross your legs so that your right leg is in front. And try and cross your shins about halfway up. And push your heels away. And try and have your knees right on top of your ankles. Move your bottom back again. Bring your hands onto the floor behind you, raise your chest, and as you push your feet down, fold forward. You can stay here or possibly come down a little bit more. Press your hands back towards you to help move your body forwards and press your feet back towards you so you're squeezing your knees a little stronger. Remember, you're not trying to conquer or beat a pose here. You're working with the pose in a therapeutic way to open your body as evenly as you can. We're really looking for symmetry in the muscles that work with and against each other, that support each other, as well as looking for an even balance in the flexibility as well. Now come up halfway, firm your abdominal muscles, walk your hands back, bring your hands right behind you and change the cross of your legs so that the other leg is on top. Again, this front shin is going to parallel to the edge of your mat. Push your heels away and bring your bottom back. Show the soles of your feet to the sides of the room. Bring your hands to your knees. Raise your chest. Now this might be it for you as you push your lower back forward, or possibly you can come forwards a little bit more. Bring your hands to the floor. Firm your abdominal muscles. So in seated poses, the abdominal strength is really important to be able to stay sitting up. Possibly come forwards a little bit more if your hips and your knees and your ankles let you. Maybe walk your hands forward and slightly drag your hands towards your body so that you can lengthen your spine and tip forwards a little bit more on your sitting bones. And press your feet back towards you so your knee joints squeeze strong. All the while, be aware of what's going on in your hips and your knees. And then from here, come up halfway. Firm your abdominal muscles even more. Come up all the way and lengthen your legs long. So one more time for UPAVISTHA KONASANA. Now, what I like about this pose is it can be a very fiery, strong pose as you squeeze your legs and come forwards and kind of press your heels down and drag them back. Or it can be more of a relaxing pose, more yin-like, more restorative even. So if you feel comfortable in this pose, you could rest here a little bit, but do try and keep your knees and your toes pointing up. Or if you're finding that this pose is still a real challenge for you, do the fire work, do the strength work of pushing your hands back and tilting forwards. So if you're doing the strong work, press your legs down, squeeze your thighs strongly. If you're quite comfortable in this pose, then you could rest your forehead on a higher block or even put a bolster here or blankets. Do keep some strength in your legs. And you can stay here a little bit longer if this is more restful. If this is more of a pose that you're working at and you're trying to push your hip points forward, come out a couple of times and then come back in a couple of times. So we stay here for about 5 more breaths. Press your heels down. 3, 2, 1. Now if you are down far, come up halfway, firm your abs, and bring your hands to the floor and push yourself up. Bring your hands under your knees, slide your heels up, and then from here, put your blanket at the back of your mat. It's going to be where you place your head in Shavasana in just a moment, and bring your bottom to the floor. Now, make sure that your toes are pointing forwards and that your bottom is quite close towards your heels for bridge pose. Bring your elbows down, your head down. I'm just going to move my blanket away. If your ponytail is in the way, if you have one, then slide it away. And from here, press your elbows down and bring your shoulder blades a little closer to each other. Then push your feet down and pick up your bottom. Straighten your arms and interlace your hands underneath your back and walk your arms closer to each other. Press your tailbone towards your knees and press your knees towards each other so that your thighs feel parallel. So we're just going to engage the backs of the legs here a little bit more, having done so much work of lengthening. Here, this is a nice counter pose. Press the back of your head down, raise your bridge a little higher. So a lot of fire going on here. Tapas work, strength, engagement, awareness. 3, press your feet back towards your hands. 2, 1. Now release your hands and slowly descend your bridge. Lengthen your tailbone long towards your heels. Reach your hands behind you for your blanket if it's there, or wherever it is, and bring it underneath your head and your neck. Bring your hands by your side. Lengthen one leg long to the corner of the mat, and then the other to the other corner. For 1 minute in Shavasana. Rest here. And as you rest here, really notice how your body feels, having done that short practice. How do you feel in your legs and your hips in particular? Let them drop. Let them really rest. Let the energy moving around your hips, your glutes, your pelvis, all the way down your legs to your feet. Let it reboot. Notice it's smooth running. Then let go of that and rest. Please stay a little longer in Shavasana if you want. Press pause and lie back down. Or slide your left foot up, bend the knee, bring the sole of your foot to the floor. Bend the right leg and roll over onto your right side and pause here for a few moments. Keep resting your head and your entire body down towards the ground. And push down with your left hand, then your right hand. Come back up into a cross-legged position. And bring your hands into your heart. Lower your chin. Close your eyes if they're open. And push the top of your sacrum, your lower back slightly forward. So again, you really feel like you're sitting on top of your sitting bones. Now bring your hands down onto your thighs. Raise your chin and open your eyes. Namaste. Well done. Keep coming back to this class if you found it challenging. It really helps to lengthen the backs of your legs, and it helps you if you're cultivating or you have a meditation practice to be able to sit more upright for longer with more comfort, so that the abdominal muscles get stronger, the backs of your legs and all around your hips have more ease and more space. You can sit for longer, whatever you're doing, not just meditation. So keep coming back to this. And remember to subscribe if you haven't already. Take care. I hope the rest of your day goes really well.